The immortal John Hancock here, and thought I'd do a different video showing a restoration of an original 1978 Kenner X-Wing fighter. I'm a huge Star Wars fan. I got this at Legendary Retro. I did a video about their store on my channel, and I love Star Wars, so I'm going to show this video from start to finish. This X-Wing is damaged. It has decals that are coming off. It's oxidized. It's yellowish-ish. It's not too bad, but I'm gonna use an UV box and brighten it, and just start to finish. So dismantling this, you just take a Phillips screwdriver, and what I do is I get like a plastic like little parts box, and I organize my screws that way. And this is my first restoration, and I want to mention that I'm not an expert at this, but I love Star Wars, and I've wanted for a long time to just collect some loose figures and ships from my childhood as I played with a lot of Star Wars toys. In the comments below, what figures and sets did you have? And I just want to thank everybody for viewing this different video, as I know there's a lot of people that like to restore old toys, and that's what I want to do. So I use a parts box like this. You can get these everywhere, dollar store. It's just nice to separate the parts and have them organized as you take this apart. And so you take the two back screws off. There's one screw on top, and yeah, I want this to be helpful for people that may want to restore a toy themselves. If I can do it, you can do it. And there's a cone piece, and this is the longest screw. You want to make sure to not over tighten this when you put it back in as well. So yes, very important that you take your time. And disassemble is very important, especially if you want to restore a toy. Most of these are simple electronics. There's no soldering involved with this job, unless you have some major damage or an issue with the light. I didn't. So there's the top piece. There's some tape on there. I don't know why that's there. Here's the electronics. You want to be careful with that light. It can be replaced. Mine does work. My motor had some issues with it. I did some various things to try to make it work again. There's a landing gear. My landing gear had a slight bend to it. There's some different ways of straightening those. Boiling water was one that I heard online, but again, this is just a simple disassembly and full restoration. Now, if you're noticing, well, why is there two missing screws? Kenner only used two screws with 4 screw holes, just on the opposite sides there. Taking it apart, easy peasy. And I want to thank the SW Retro Repro Vintage Custom Collectors Facebook group, as it inspired me to do this restoration. Now these are the S-foils and the X-Wing wings. I have a broken wing, and I'm going to repair that. So you just got to be careful taking that out and putting it back in. I am going to show you what I did and kind of a warning of what not to do, because I didn't do everything perfectly. Again, this is my first restoration of toys, so I'm not an expert, but I just did the best I could. It's a little bit, just try not to force things when you take them apart. There's my R2-D2 unit. It's a little beat up. I'm gonna do an easy budget fix on that. And so yeah, my spring isn't too rusted, so it's held together with the screw. You got to unscrew it. So yeah, disassembly is really important. You want to separate just the plastic pieces from all the electronics. And so if you want to restore or use a UV box, which a light box, which is what I'm going to do to brighten it up. And just taking your time. Really was excited about showing this video, as I was inspired by others that have done videos. And you know what? This process has really improved with modern technology, with 3D printing and decal set. It just makes things easier, especially if you're just going for like a loose nice figure. I just wanted to see if how well I could restore that. Yeah, see my R2-D2 top there is worn, because that's what you press down on to expand the wings into attack position, which I did as a kid. And there's these blue pieces there. Just going to put that with the screws in a compartment to separate it. And that is what puts that little lever there, puts the wings back into closed position. And there's my damaged wing. As you can see, that's a very common issue, and many of these are damaged. And so what I did is I went on eBay, and you can get a foldable piece. It's like a little 3D printed piece I got mine from Galactic Collector, and it was just two small plastic pieces that you put them just so, and can fix your wings. And my other one was cracked, but so it's good. If it's cracked, you probably still want to put a reinforcement piece on that. And on the wings, there's T for top and B for bottom, and so that's important that those are in the right positions when you put them back. Have all my pieces like that, disassembled, ready to start cleaning. Now there's lots of different ways of cleaning this. I did some things right and some things wrong. You want to make sure to not douse any electronics. But first I'm going to take off the decals. I decided not to save them. They're pretty done. I only had two original decals, and I used some Goo Gone and fingernail and essentially scraping off all the residue. The more you can scrape off the residue, the better your outcome is. And I just did that over time. Use a Q-tip, and I used a scraper, a plastic scraper. I think a standard one would be too harsh on the plastic. Took my time, and it was starting to take shape, at least in disassembly. My X-Wing wasn't too yellowed, but it was yellowed. It was noticeable. The extra step of making it bright wasn't too hard. It just takes time. This whole process, by the way, doesn't really save you money either. I spent about the same amount of money as I would get purchasing one in really good shape, but I was able to restore this, which is more important, especially for people that want to do it yourself. Feels really good to restore something. I opted not to use any spare parts from another X-Wing. I just chose to use 3D printed parts if I didn't have it. That's just a decision I made. I'm not against it. I just wanted to see how well it would turn out this way, as this is my first project. So got it all disassembled and separated electronic from non-electronic pieces and put them in warm soapy water, and just to get all the dirt and grime before I brighten the plastic pieces with a light box that I pretty much went to dollar store and put together for about less than $10, minus the UV light, which I got on Amazon for I think like under $20. So you let that soak. You don't want to put any pieces with metal. I put one piece in there on accident and was able to salvage it with some baking soda and a little bit of lemon juice. It got some corrosion on it, and I was able to fix that. So this has the electric motor in. You can take it out, but it's kind of a process, and I didn't want to do that as my motor and light were working. So I just thought I'd clean this on the outside. I am going to brighten this an alternative way in the sun with some peroxide and some saran wrap, and see how that works. You want to make sure to not keep it out in the sun too long, and not keep it out in the sun if it's really hot, as plastic can get too warm, especially with electronics there. I got to be careful with that. So I just took my time cleaning it up as before I start. And it, as you can see here, my motor and my light, at least my light, you can see works. Now I used a kind of a budget fix for my R2. I used a metallic Sharpie pen and was able to just go over the blue worn marks with my Sharpie pen, and it turned out pretty good. Now I could have used an airbrush. That would have cost more. There's some other ways, but yeah, it looked pretty good. I was happy with that. Much better. And here's my budget UV box. I used peroxide and a mix of distilled water and plopped those in there for a couple days. So I just made sure to just with a smaller bucket, I was able to only fit in so many pieces. This was outside for about a day. Unfortunately, this piece was put actually in the light box, and that was a problem. I just cleaned that with baking soda and some lemon juice, and it turned out pretty good. Now, with some distilled vinegar, I had some corrosion and definitely on the contacts for my battery, and so I wanted to clean that, and so I made sure to not touch the motor with that. My motor was kind of acting up a little bit. With a little bit of WD-40, that was better after I fixed it. All right, here's my broken wing. And so using those plastic pieces that I mentioned before, and I purchased those on eBay, you want to use plastic bond on those. Now, I used like a Gorilla Gel, and I also used some JB Weld plastic bond. And I use clothespins. If you have clamps, that works. You want to spend time and let that sit. Do not rush this step. If you rush this step, it's going to ruin it. You can't put anything on the bottom, on the B part of the wings. You want to attach the plastic pieces to the T part, the top part, and then insert the metal rod just like so. Please make sure your wings are fully dried and firm before you do this. If you don't, it's not going to work. And so I didn't let it sit long enough, and I had to redo this step all over again. So just reassemble, just like the opposite of assembling it. So you just slowly put things back together. Here's my Sharpie pen R2D2. Turned out pretty good. Not perfect, but you know what? He was a little beat up to begin with, so it just looks better. And I was curious because I hadn't tested to see if my S-foils were going to expand and retract properly, because the spring and these parts, especially with the 1978 version of the X-Wing, it didn't have the best mechanisms. And on the battle damaged version, which came out a few years later, much better process, which I'd like to get that. I'd like to get a battle damaged X-Wing. Never had one. So this is an X-Wing, takes me back to my childhood. I don't know if I think my brother had the Star Wars toys, but I got to play with them. So I definitely remember having an X-Wing. And the X-Wing I had was the 1978 version. So you just carefully plop this in, and you attach the R2 to the plastic device and the mechanisms like so. Looking pretty good. You want to make sure your wings aren't too warped. My wing's not perfect, but good enough. You want to make sure your landing gear is in like so. It turned out really good. All my pieces were not perfect, but definitely a lot brighter and newer looking. And not 100% for sure, but I was satisfied with the outcome. And it took several days to do this. This is a process over about a week and a half, with all the recording and all the different steps of just assembly. But yeah, it's turning out. It's making progress. You know, the real test is going to be, will I be able to expand my X-Wings? So just put the back piece on like that. Want to make sure your R2 piece is above the little lever there, and just reassemble. Making sure the long screw again goes to the cone, and you don't want to over tighten it because it'll crack. You don't want to do that. So once it gets snug, you're good. Okay, landing gear's pretty good. And you put the back piece on like that. Okay, all right. All right. Put that in, great. Right, getting closer now. It's pretty exciting. Voila. Yeah, it's working. Second time's a charm. That works pretty good. Yeah. Wings attached and holding. So this definitely is going to be a display piece. I got some decals online, and the decals I got were from Empire Toy Restoration. And they one of many folks that offer a decal set. It's about $10. And just put it on the best I could. And I kept it. They include a couple other decals you can add. I wanted to keep it OG, as it was important to keep it like the original and make like old. I got some 3D printed parts off an eBay store, and they had laser cannons and the canopy. The canopy is really expensive now. It's hard to get one, and I decided to go with a 3D printed one. It's not perfect, but much better. Oh yeah. You hear that? Sounds great. And fantastic. So nearly completed, but you can't have it completed without Luke Skywalker. Yep, got Luke Skywalker from Legendary Retro. They had some original action figures. He had his weapon as well, but fit it in like so. And there you have it. My first restoration. Not bad. Not perfect. Made some mistakes. Learned some things from it. But that's how we learn. We do something new and learn from it. I want to thank everybody for viewing this different video. If you like what you see, please consider hitting that like and subscribe button and clicking the bell as I'm uploading videos every week. You folks are wonderful and beautiful. Let's keep it positive. This is the Immortal John Hancock, and you take care.